And I'm pleased to be joined now by Jim Wilson, the assistant sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. And really hard to believe, but this is our final go-around here. The season now over. But some great stuff to talk about. I mean, you and I were here in the preseason talking up who we thought was going to be the team to beat, who we thought the players were going to be that were going to shine. And as it happens every year, things don't go exactly as planned or as scripted.
We're trained professionals.
We had some upsets, and starting with Division II, you know, your thoughts on the hot start for St. John's, Leominster recovering after an 0-2 start to kind of overtake St. John's, and then Fitchburg starting 0-4 and overtaking them all.
That sums it up. I mean, really, you're playing the season as it goes along. So we always said from day one, Fitchburg was a much better team than 0-4.
Yes.
And we talked about it every week when they were making their run. And they end up, making a couple of changes on the offensive side of the ball, and things started clicking for them. They went on that big winning streak, and they became the 7th seed. They won Central Mass.
Yeah,
it's a huge thing for that program, and they're one of the more storied programs in the area. And to work hard, not being, especially the schedule they played. It was every excuse in the world to say we're 0-4. We play a tough schedule. It's not our year. They kept fighting. They were in every game they lost. So, right. I mean, that was a real good thing for them. I mean, it's one of the best stories of the year, how Fitchburg was able to persevere and come back at the end and thump some teams that, we thought would, like St. John's and Leominster, who we thought would be there at the end of the year.
Right, and one of the great things about football is what you see early on when we saw St. John's, Leominster week 1, and St. John's blew them out. And then, as we talk about, and football coaches talk about all the time, it's about getting better week to week, and it's not about how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get up, and what do? Dust yourself off, get right back in there. Leominster did that. They made some adjustments. They got Eddie Rivera back after a couple weeks. They beat Shepherd Hill at home, and then they went on a great run until Fitchburg beat them in the Central Mass Finals.
And that was you see that Shepherd Hill game rather sort of gave them the confidence to say we can do this, because like I talked about it all the time. I see the broken record. We talked about Leominster in that game against St. John's. They didn't look at all like the team that they ended the season. I thought they had a lot of work to do. I thought Noah Gray looked a little flat as a sophomore quarterback playing a big game like that, his first game.
Right.
They made those changes real quick in that Lowell game this week too. They leaps and bounds. They're in that game to the very end. And you can see like with Fitchburg, they got their confidence back every week. That win against Shepherd Hill showed them they belong in the discussion of elite teams in Division II, and they got it snowballed. So I think having guys like Noah Gray get better every week and get learn under Dave Palazzi, and those guys have Derek Franks, have a great defensive line. I think that really amounted to what they can do compete in Division II.
And then Division IV, we have Shepherd Hill, and that was the team going into the season that we talked about and said, here's our front runner for Gillette with that huge offensive line and the great quarterback in Drew-Jean Guillaume. Well, the Hill didn't disappoint. They won the Central Mass title. Then they lose to Wauconah in the state semis out west in a game that was kind of a strange game in the first half. A couple big plays, a kick return for a touchdown by Wauconah, and then a fumble right the last play of the half.
Backbreaker.
Shepherd Hill's going in. They have the lead. They're going in for a touchdown inside the 5. They fumble. Wauconah takes it back 95 yards for the touchdown. Last play of the half. We go in tied at the half. Momentum shifts to Wauconah, and Wauconah dominated the second half.
Right, and Shepherd Hill was playing on their heels the rest of that game. Nothing was going right for them. A couple of uncharacteristic turnovers. They weren't getting those. They weren't breaking off those big runs that were characteristic of that team all year. So I think that was. I think they got punched in the mouth in that game, and they just really had a hard time trying to get back on their feet. And so unfortunately, that's where these playoffs go. One bad game, no matter how good your season is, up to it. You're going to Gibney's early and we're getting your equipment refurbished.
Right, and you talk about the entire season. Well, Shepherd Hill had a great season, and it was a season where there was a lot of expectations on these young guys going into the season, a lot of pressure on those young guys. They lived up to those expectations and to the pressure, and all the work they put in the offseason in the weight room and running sprints and going to speed camps and going to individual camps, it paid off this year because Shepherd Hill, they're not happy because they didn't get to Gillette, and that was the ultimate goal. But they won a Central Mass title, and they played in the state semifinals, and they had a phenomenal season.
A lot of teams would trade anything to be where they are.
Exactly.
I mean, lost it all. They had, like you said, they did everything, did a blueprint for what other programs aspiring to get to that level should do. Like you said, the speed camps, the off-season workout, having a couple of 350-pound linemen helps too. If you have those are great.
They don't grow on trees.
Exactly. So, I mean, having that, I think a lot of teams can look at what they did in their staff and just say, this is what we got. If you want to be there in that discussion, that's what we got to do next year.
And it's still a game won or lost up front. No matter how talented your skill guys are, it's still a game that is going to be won or lost in the trenches. If you don't have a line, you're not going to win. Now, if you have a dominant line, you can win a lot more games, than you're going to lose, as Shepherd Hill proved, as Auburn has proven in years past.
Fat kids help. I'm telling people that for years. My wife doesn't believe me.
Well, you got believers down in Dudley and Charlton and Auburn. And those guys get in the weight room too, and they can throw some iron around as well. They can throw some cheeseburgers down, but they can fire around the iron. Now, Division 5, Northbridge, and this is a team that, we always focus on the skill guys, and rightly so here, just because they are so talented. They're all juniors. I mean, this junior class is ridiculous. When you're talking about Jake Wood and Kobe Schofer, first and foremost. No, there is not. If you're going to pick an MVP of Central Mass, it's Kobe Schofer. There is not a better complete player in Central Mass than Kobe Schofer, and what he did and what he meant to his team every single week on offense and defense, just unbelievable, and special teams.
It's everything. The offense runs through him. I mean, he's run for over 1,000 yards. I think he's in top 10 in rushing and passing in both. I mean, that's rare as far as an athlete doing that. Usually you have, he's a great runner, but he's passed for 3,000 yards. He's doing everything. He's tough to shut down because every team that comes in to play him is going to be one of those guys. We got to stop Schofer, which is easier said than done, but nobody's been able to do it.
Right.
So, I mean, having that, and like I said, in defense, he's a shutdown corner, so he's doing that kind of stuff. I think having that asset, like I said, they're all back. I mean, they're gonna be dangerous next year.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, for Northbridge to go through the whole season undefeated, and with the winning streak, and with Coach LaChapelle becoming the all-time winningest coach in Massachusetts high school history. Again, a lot of pressure on 16, 17-year-old kids. And for week in and week out to be unblemished, it means you didn't have an off week, which is very tough when you're not talking about professionals here that are 28, 34 years old. You're talking about 16, 17-year-old kids with a lot going on in their world. And to have that kind of consistency week in and week out, yeah, they won a lot of close games, but they won. Bottom line is they won. Undefeated record, incredible.
And they've played last couple weeks. They played a lot of tight games that show they can win those, which is good. Especially going into the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It says a lot for that character of that team to be able to handle that stuff.
Division 6, Blackstone Valley Tech, Littleton, the two of the top dogs we thought going in, and that's kind of how it played out through the whole season. Jim Archibald's Blackstone Valley Tech team played great. They started off with the tougher part of their schedule, won those games, and then had to kind of re-gear it up. Littleton, again, hats off to the Tigers because they went through one loss during the regular season, but they had that long winning streak. Again, everyone gearing up week after week, trying to beat Littleton. And, they do suffer one loss late in the year, but boom, they just pick right back up again and steamroll through.
They were a team I thought was going to be rebuilding a little. They lost, McLaughlin, those guys, such a big key parts of that Super Bowl run for last year. Moved Connor Bassett into quarterback, and they had to move a couple people around. They didn't miss a beat. Now they play a decent schedule for that league. And I think they just were able to overcome everything. They were right back to where they are. Like you said, winning all these games in a row is tough, week after week, especially when you're trying to figure out who goes where and everything. They just started right when they did. I thought Valley Tech was going to be able to take them down. They stomped that out pretty quick. They're a really dominant team.
And then now looking ahead to next year and some of the teams, maybe some of the players. Who do you like now? Kind of a hot stove as we transition.
Yeah. The fantasy draft picks for next year.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this year I think running backs can be preloaded because I think with this year new going in, guys like Mark Wright and Jakari Carpenter would be the guys to watch. You got Baldino from St. Peter Marion is going to is in line for a great year next year. Him and Leary, if Leary comes back healthy, I think the Guardians can be have a good solid base to come back and compete. I think Cole McCubey from West Boylston is going to just run stuff in Division 6 next year. He's played 2 years in a row, been one of the best players in the field for the last 26 games he's played. I think he's going to make another mark next year. I think there's a lot of great guys coming back to really make an impact in that kind of on the running side of the ball.
I look at Peter Oliver too, a running back from just a freshman running back at St. John's, and his father played at Boston College as the strength coach at Holy Cross. Peter Oliver got brought up to the varsity at the end of the year. I think he's going to be phenomenal. And you look at that freshman class at St. John's is unbelievable and very highly touted. The sophomore class is real good as well. And then Tim Cassidy comes back at quarterback next year. So they're going to be good as well. We talked about Leominster and Noah Gray coming back and Addo coming back. I mean, Franks rather. You got a lot of good players coming back there.
Another year wearing that. You're gonna be seeing them in March having little wristbands on. In Leominster, it's pretty commonplace up there. They're gonna know. So have another year just ingesting what they learned, different routes, how to run certain things, where to check downs, things like that. Stuff that usually most high school programs don't worry about. They're going to be immersed in it for the next couple of years. And I think that's just going to be dangerous for any other team.
They're going to be really strong. And McCune, the tight end at Shepherd Hill. Shepherd Hill's going to have another Division I college football player in the tight end, McCune. All right, we're out of time, Willie, as always. Thanks all season long for coming in with all the knowledge and breaking down stuff and letting folks know what to look forward to each and every week.
Happy to be here. Love it.
All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll be back with more of the Super Bowl frenzy right after this.